What's good, everybody? Today's video, I'm going to be talking about circumference and area of a circle. I'm going to break down how to find both of them and the difference between each two. So, guys, when we're talking about circumference, understand we're talking about the distance around the entire circle. And then area, we're talking about the shaded region inside of the circle. So, when we're trying to find circumference, I think this is tricky because there's two equations. What we normally see for circumference is C is equal to pi times D. But another equation that you'll sometimes see, and then we could use for circumference, is C is equal to 2 times pi times R. And I'm going to break down the problem using our example below. So in our circle, it says that the radius is 80 feet and it wants us to calculate the circumference. So I'm going to use both the equations for circumference to do so. So when our first one, we have C is equal to pi times D. And we know that pi is 3.14. So we're going to substitute. So we have C is equal to 3.14 times 160 feet. So if anybody's wondering where we get 160 from, remember the diameter is just 2 times the radius. So if our radius is 80, once we double it, that means our diameter is going to be 160. So the last step to figure out the circumference would be to multiply pi and the diameter. And once we do for this problem, we're going to get 502.4 feet. And then we'll just put this in the box. So that's circumference right there. And what makes circumference of a circle so tricky, guys, is that there's more than one formula. And if you forget the relationship, it can become tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to red. And now we're going to use the other formula and solve. So now we have circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r, right? And once we go through and we start to substitute and multiply, our equation should look like what I have on our screen, right? So once we multiply 2 times pi times our circumference, I'm sorry, not the circumference in this problem, times the radius, we're going to get the same exact answer, guys. So please just understand that these two equations are the same and we will get the same exact answer for the circumference. Now, what I want to do, we're going to talk about area. And I think the biggest issue is that exponent for area, it makes the problem feel a little bit more harder than what it is, or there's some type of confusion with it. So we're going to scroll back up and scroll over a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus in blue, right? And we know that our equation is going to be area is equal to pi r squared, right? And once we start setting this up, guys, right, we have area is equal to 3.14, right? That's pi. And just remember, guys, the radius, right? The radius is a segment, basically it's half the circle. So if you put a point in the middle of the circle and then you draw a line from that point to the circle, anywhere on that circle is going to be a radius, okay? However, if we draw a line that goes through the center of the circle from one side to the other, that's going to be considered a diameter. So please understand the difference between the two as I labeled them on the screen. When we're talking about the first circle in red, the diameter that's from one side of the circle to the other going through the middle, and radius is just half the diameter, okay? So when we're doing the radius or we're solving for area now, this is the key part when we're substituting in for the radius. And what happens is a lot of students mistake that exponent to multiply by 2. But just remember that when we're talking about this radius, right, we're going to square it. So what that means is we're going to do 80 feet times 80 feet. So please understand the difference. We're not multiplying by 2, we're squaring the radius. And once we square the radius, that changes our units as well. So what we should have is 3.14 times 6,400 feet squared, right? Because feet times feet is going to give us feet squared, or you can use the other way to say it of square feet. All right. And once we do this, guys, we're getting to the very last step. That's the trickiest part with area. Just make sure that you square it instead of multiplying by 2 like the circumference. So at this step, we multiply pi and r squared together, and then we're gonna get 20,096 feet squared for an answer. So when we're talking about area and circumference, guys, please just remember the difference. Circumference, there can be two different equations we use to solve. Area, we're just going to use that one formula. All right. And if you found this video helpful, we're going to ask that you smash the like button for us. Subscribe down below. I'm not subscribe. Comment down below, letting us know you found this video helpful. And I'm Mr. Peters, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where we're talking about area and the circumference of a circle. Thank you guys for joining us.